Brian in Northridge. Brian, you were one of the in-home healthcare workers?
Yeah, good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot here, but for about a dozen years, I was a provider for someone who was a paraplegic who brought me in, and basically what we were doing was with the timesheets, the provider and the recipient have to sign the timesheets. And what we were doing with him, because he told me that he could not get a job, and that was how it was helping him. But I never provided any care. I've never been trained. I never met in person with a social worker or anybody. And I think if they had signature cards and things like that, it would cut down fraud that would go the other way with people that maybe are not as handicapped. I mean, that are handicapped but are still, a little bit more independent than they let on. Because I'm sure I'm not...
Just clarify. So the man who recruited you with the check, he didn't really need in-home care, so he didn't have to pay anyone for it?
No, because I never went over there, because he would tell the social worker that I was cleaning the apartment, taking him to medical appointments, and bringing him, helping him go shopping, things like that. We were only getting 53 hours for the month. I mean, for 2 weeks I got 53 hours, which was like 109 for the month. But basically I was splitting the check with him, and I was doing this for about a dozen years. I think if background checks are important, but also there's absolutely no training. Offered training, but it was totally volunteer.
Brian, I mean, how do you feel about this now that you were taking half of this check every month for services you weren't providing and the taxpayers were paying for it?
Well, the recipient was someone who I was friends with, and he told me that he was desperate, he was struggling to make rent, that he needed the cash more than anything, that it was very difficult for him to get a job, and that I was helping him that way, and he needed to split it with me down the middle in this sort of association. So maybe rationalizing, but I realized that he needed the cash more than he needed someone to clean his apartment or do his laundry, because he was doing that on his own. Even though the social worker would come and do spot checks every once in a while, there were like every quarter of the year, and he would always be phoned ahead that she would, when she was coming.
Oh, so he was prepared.
I never met with the social worker, so really I could see how somebody could make up a provider and keep the whole check, or somebody could make up a recipient and keep the whole check. So I think a lot of these reforms are really needed. And plus, I was signing both signatures on the timesheet, and none of them were ever called into question.
Wow. Brian, appreciate your candor. If not what you did, thank you for being open about it. You said perhaps shooting yourself in the foot, but your candor is very appreciated. Brian in Northridge.